Music licensing reimagined. Artlist.io. Music licensing reimagined.
What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? We are about a couple hours away from the start of the week 4, 1 o'clock slate. We've already got a couple games played, a couple games already starting to get played here. I'm going to talk a little bit about everything and give my official predictions for week 4 before the 1 o'clock kickoff. I'm, of course, Jason here. Thanks for joining me. Let's talk some football because I think it's been a really fun start to the NFL season. There's been a lot of unpredictable teams, a lot of teams that maybe aren't as good as we thought, and some teams that are better than we thought. And I love this part of the year, so I'm excited to talk about it all. Before we get started, I want to talk about that Thursday night game between the Seahawks and Cardinals. Seahawks get the win 23-20. I thought neither team looked as good as they've looked in the past. I thought specifically Seattle has looked more dominant in the past weeks. Granted, they were on the road, which is a tough environment to play. But I thought that they were going to handle their business a little bit more than they ended up actually doing on Thursday night. I think they had the far superior roster on both sides of the ball. Sam Darnold looks like he's picking up right where he left off in Minnesota. I know this offseason I was very skeptical about how he would fit into this Seattle culture just because it is a defensive head coach. They traded away DK Metcalf this offseason. They didn't seem to have a true number one, but Jackson Smith-Njigba has stepped up. I still don't know if I would consider him a true number one wide receiver, but he's certainly a very good number two at the very worst. They like this rookie, Torrey Horton, from that they got in the 5th round. He didn't do too much on Thursday, but I think there's some people that they like that they're going to start to develop. And then the story with Seattle on offense is obviously Sam Darnold's mastery of the actual scheme, but Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet in the background, they look like a really strong 1-2 punch. Arizona, on the other hand, I think you're going to see that they're going to blow it up at the end of all this year. I think Kyler Murray has not shown anything throughout his tenure that makes me believe that he's ever going to take a step forward from where he's at right now. Marvin Harrison Jr. has had a rough start to the year, but he did end up having a pretty good game on Thursday night. He scored that touchdown. He looked pretty emotional while doing it. So clearly there's some stuff going on behind the scenes in Arizona, but it's such a tough division with both the Niners, the Rams, the Seahawks that I just don't see Arizona making a dent into the NFL playoff race this year. And because of that, I think Gannon will stick around the head coach because I think he's a really good defensive coordinator, or defensive mind at least. But I could definitely see Kyler Murray getting traded. I could see them trying to hit the reboot button and trying to get maybe a rookie in the draft or another veteran quarterback. But something's got to change because insanity, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. And Arizona just looks like they have no juice on either side of the ball. So a closer game that I would have thought between Seattle and Arizona, but ultimately Seattle does get the win, which I predicted correctly. Heading into week 4, I am 35-13 in my NFL predictions. We had a really strong week 1, 14-2, and then I believe we went 11-5 in week 2, and then 10-6 in week 3. So I'm not getting better. But you know what? That just speaks to how good these NFL teams are because as the season goes along, it gets harder to predict. But I feel very confident in my picks for this week. So I got the Seahawks beating the Cardinals correct. So 1-0 to start week 4. Let's talk about the game that's currently going on right now, the Minnesota Vikings and the Pittsburgh Steelers in Dublin, Ireland. This should be an interesting battle, Carson Wentz versus Aaron Rodgers. I think they're fairly equal. Aaron Rodgers has shown some flashes in this season that he's looked pretty good in that offense. But ultimately, I just don't trust the Steelers. And I actually think this comes down to I think the Vikings have both the better offense and the better defense. Brian Flores, the Vikings defensive coordinator, I think is one of the best in the entire league. And also, I think Kevin O'Connell is one of the best head coaches in the entire league. And I think he is going to get the most out of Carson Wentz. There's been a lot of talk about J.J. McCarthy this year. He did not look good through the 2 games he played. And I predicted on the show that Carson Wentz was going to have a big week 3 game, and he did. I fully expect Carson Wentz to remain the starting quarterback in Minnesota until the wheels fall off. There's no point to rush J.J. McCarthy back. He didn't look good. He's hurt. Let him get healthy. Let him sit behind Carson for as long as Carson continues to play well. Granted, this is Carson Wentz, so this could fall off at any time, but I actually have faith that Carson will make the most of this opportunity. People may not realize this. He grew up a Minnesota Vikings fan. He's got a great roster around him, great head coach, great defensive coordinator. Like, this is Carson's potentially last and best opportunity to salvage his NFL career. So, as an Eagles fan, I actually do have a soft spot for Carson Wentz, and I'm rooting for the guy. Despite everything that happened in Philadelphia, I've never turned my back on him. So I'm rooting for Carson Wentz. And with that being said, I'm taking the Minnesota Vikings to beat the Pittsburgh Steelers here in Ireland for the reasons that I mentioned. I think they have the better offense and the better defense. Steelers are a little bit banged up too. They just announced that their running back Jaylen Warren is not playing in this game, so expect rookie running back Caleb Johnson to get a lot of touches. And there's big concerns about what he looks like. Is he an NFL player? We don't know. Kenny Gainwell, actually the former Eagle, will also get a lot of touches in this game. So for those deep fantasy leagues that you're in, those dynasty leagues, if you need somebody right now, I mean, it might be a little late to pick him up, but Kenny Gainwell, I think we might have a big day. But officially, I'm going with the Minnesota Vikings to beat the Steelers in a low-scoring, close game. Look for a big game from Justin Jefferson to show out for this international fans. And I'm rooting for Carson Wentz. I really am. Okay, let's get into our 1 o'clock games. The first one we have, the Washington Commanders at the Atlanta Falcons. And this is already probably one of the toughest games to predict in week 4. Jaden Daniels is out. Terry McLaurin is out. But the Atlanta Falcons looked absolutely horrible last weekend in Carolina. I have no idea what to do with Atlanta. I thought Michael Penix looked really good in this offseason, and I still believe that he can turn it around and become a really good quarterback moving forward. But I have not seen anything yet to make me believe that he is going to this week. So despite Terry McLaurin and Jaden Daniels not playing, I officially am still going to go with the Commanders to win. I think that Dan Quinn is a good head coach, a better head coach than Raheem Morris. I don't really like Raheem Morris. I don't trust him. If they have any shot of winning, the Falcons will need to just rely solely on Bijan Robinson, but Commanders still have a good defense and defensive line. So I think this is going to be a ugly game, not one you're going to want to watch a ton of, but I think Marcus Mariota is serviceable and will do what he needs to do to get the win. And I will go with the Commanders to beat the Falcons. Los Angeles Chargers at the New York Giants. This is a fun one. We got some storylines here. Jackson Dart, the rookie out of Mizzou, making his NFL debut, starting officially for the New York Giants after they benched Russell Wilson last week. Russell Wilson looked so good in week 2 against Dallas. And then in week 3 against the Chiefs, could not do anything. And if you're the Giants, if you're Brian Daboll, if you're Joe Schoen, you had to make this move to go to Jackson Dart. You can't wait too much longer. So is this the ideal spot for him to make his NFL debut against the Chargers and Jim Harbaugh? Obviously not. But you got to pull the trigger on it. You can't wait any longer. So I have no idea what the Giants are going to look like. Cam Scatterbo, their rookie running back, looked like a dog last week. He looked so good. So I think there is room for optimism for Giants fans if Jackson Dart does not even just ball out, but just look like a competent quarterback this week against a good Chargers defense. Then there should be room for optimism if Dart works out and Scatterbo and Malik Neighbors and that defense. That's a good young core. So I'm optimistic for them. But with that being said, they are not winning this game. LA Chargers will beat the New York Giants. Jim Harbaugh is probably the number 1 pick for Coach of the Year. Herbert's playing like the league leader for MVP the quarter of the way through the season. Yeah, this is not going to be close, I don't think. I will take the Chargers to win and defeat the New York Giants. Tennessee Titans at the Houston Texans. I'll talk about another team that is just looking absolutely directionless right now, and this could go for both teams, but I'm specifically talking about the Houston Texans. CJ Stroud, what a fall from grace. This guy had one of the best rookie seasons for a quarterback ever. And through the first 3 games of this season, is there talk about him potentially getting benched? May he not get another second contract in Houston? He's looked that bad. Now, granted, the offensive line has been an issue in Houston for years, and they don't have a running game, so you can throw not total the blame at his feet, but it's looked really bad in Houston. And on the other side of the ball, the Tennessee Titans head coach Brian Callahan, a lot of talk about him giving up play calling duties this week. The writing's on the wall for him. It's not going to work out in Tennessee. He's clearly one of these guys who's just a better offensive coordinator. So neither of these teams are particularly interesting or particularly good for that reason. But somebody's got to win, I guess. I mean, technically we could tie, but I assume somebody will win this game. So what does it come down to? I think both teams are a defensive-led team. On defense, I give the edge to the Texans. I think DeMeco Ryans is a really, really good head coach and defensive coordinator. I think their defense better. Who's going to step up? Is it going to be Cam Ward? Is it going to be CJ Stroud? Texans are at home, so maybe you give them a slight advantage here, but this one's really close to call. I don't know why, but I kind of believe in Tennessee, and I don't think that they're going to go winless. So I will take a flyer here and say that the struggles for the Texans continue and the Tennessee Titans somehow sneak out with a road win here. I will take the Tennessee Titans to beat the Houston Texans. I'll say on a game-winning field goal. Let's spice it up a little bit. Philadelphia Eagles at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. It's going to be well over 100 degrees in Tampa Bay. It will be a hot one. And speaking of hot, the Eagles. Are they the best team in football? They did just win the Super Bowl, in case you forgot. But we got to talk about that walk-off win against LA last week. Jordan Davis blocking the game-winning field goal, taking it back for a touchdown. The pick six, that was electric. Honestly, one of the best game-winning plays that I've ever seen for any sport, for that matter. That was so awesome. But the Eagles have a tough task this week on the road at Tampa Bay, a Bucs team that is a little banged up. Mike Evans ruled out last week. Their rookie wide receiver, Emeka Egbuka, was hurt, so he's going to play this week, but not at 100%. Baker Mayfield has got questions coming into this game, so this is a good spot for the Eagles. The Bucs team typically has their Eagles numbers over the last recent years, and honestly, the history of the franchise. The Buccaneers franchise has been like the number one team they give the Eagles fits. So this is definitely not going to be taken for granted. Jalen Hurts and the Eagles offense looked like a completely different team in the second half last week against LA. I'm expecting that trend to continue. Expect another heavy dose of A.J. Brown, and hopefully Saquon Barkley gets his year going this week because he's had a slow start to 2025. Officially, I'm going with the Philadelphia Eagles to beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I think Eagles are healthier. I think they're getting some more momentum on their side, getting their offense together, and the Buccaneers are just hurt. So it'll be a fun game. I'm looking forward to it. The Buccaneers are going to put up a fight because they always do. They're a great team, but I'm going with the Philadelphia Eagles to beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on the road. Carolina Panthers at the New England Patriots. Okay, Carolina coming off a huge 30-point win over their division rival Atlanta Falcons last week. Do they continue the momentum? New England Patriots coming off, last week against Pittsburgh, where they lost 21-14. One of these is going in one direction. The other one's going in the other one. I'm really shocked by New England. I thought they were going to be much better than they look like they are. Mike Vrabel, is there questions about him as a coach? Maybe Tennessee was right to fire him. We don't know. There's still a lot of season left to play. But with that being said, I actually like Drake May more than I like Bryce Young. Patriots are at home. This is a tough one to call. Carolina's got some really good players too, though. But I will go with who I think is the better coach and the better quarterback. I will go with New England. I think I bet on New England like 3 or 4 weeks in a row. And I've gotten a couple of them right. but a couple of them wrong. This will be a big test for New England. If they look like absolute dog crap against Carolina, count them out for the rest of the year. But this actually will be a fun, scrappy game. Not technically sound. It's not going to be any Bills Ravens from week 1, but it should be a fun game for all us football nerds out there. Officially, going with the New England Patriots at home because I like their coach and I like their quarterback more. And hopefully they don't prove me wrong. New Orleans Saints at the Buffalo Bills. I mean, do I really need to talk about this one? One's one of the best teams in football. One's one of the worst. One's probably getting the first overall pick. One's likely winning the Super Bowl. Buffalo Bills are going to win this one handedly. The only interesting thing about this game is, does Josh Allen take a snap in the fourth quarter, or is it Mitch Trubisky time by the time it comes around? Cleveland Browns at the Detroit Lions. This one is pretty obvious. I'm not going to lie. This one's pretty obvious. But the Cleveland Browns did just beat the Green Bay Packers last week. That defense is legit, even though their offense is. And Detroit just absolutely showing out on Monday Night Football against the Baltimore Ravens. They look really, really good. They look like that new offensive and defensive coordinators are hits. They look like they didn't miss a beat except for that weird week 1 against Green Bay. Detroit looks incredible. It is at home in the Dome. I will take the Detroit Lions to boat race the Cleveland Browns and get a large win. Jacksonville Jaguars at the San Francisco 49ers. Mac Jones, I believe, is getting the start once again. This could be a fun game, but I trust Kyle Shanahan and the Niners pieces more. They are at home. I will take the 49ers to beat the Jaguars. But this could be your upset alert. Don't be shocked if the Jaguars pull this one out. But officially, I am going with the 49ers. Colts at Rams. All right. Is this the game of the week? Maybe. Who would have thought that week 4, Daniel Jones would not only be an MVP fronter, or candidate at least, but in one of the most anticipated spots in the calendar at LA. This is a fun one. LA obviously last week had that devastating loss to the Eagles. This one, Devontae Adams has questions. Right now, I'm going to go with a hot hand. I'm going to say the Indianapolis Colts continue to win, but at some point, the wheels will fall off for Indy. As much as I like Daniel Jones, I don't trust him to maintain the success long-term. I think he's a really good story for right now. I will go with the Indianapolis Colts to beat the LA Rams here, but if I had to bet on one of these two teams come January, I can tell you right now, it would not be the Colts. But it's not January, it's September, and I'm going with the Indianapolis Colts to get the win on the road. Chicago Bears at the Las Vegas Raiders. Caleb Williams looked really good last week, probably his best game as a pro. The Raiders, I actually had them beating the Washington Commanders last week, and I got that wrong. So I don't really know what's going on with them. They are in Las Vegas, but this one's such a tough one to call. I just don't trust the Bears. Maybe they'll prove me wrong, but I think Pete Carroll has a decided head coaching advantage, which it seems like to be the difference for me. What does Geno Smith look like? If Geno Smith looks like not good, like we potentially, he could be on the hot seat. I'm going to go with the Raiders at home. I just don't trust the Bears. All right, Baltimore Ravens. Okay, Baltimore Ravens at Kansas City Chiefs. This is obviously the game of the week, big brands. Both of these teams go into week 4, 1-2. So somebody's leaving week 4, 1-3, which is scary to think of for these two brands. The Chiefs are at home. They did just beat the Giants. The Ravens did just lose in embarrassing fashion to Detroit. So momentum's on for the Chiefs. Momentum is not for the Ravens. Chiefs are at home. So with that being said, I mean, clearly the Baltimore Ravens are the better team. I know that momentum might say one thing, but the reality is, like, yes, there's questions about their defense, but Lamar is just so explosive. And the Kansas City offense right now is the opposite of that. Travis Kelce can make it a good play occasionally. Tyquan Thornton, their wide receivers, actually looked pretty good, but I just don't trust Kansas City. I'm going with the Baltimore Ravens to win this one. I think they're the much deeper roster. Sunday Night Football, Green Bay Packers at the Dallas Cowboys. I am going with the Packers to win in a bounce-back game after losing to Cleveland. Dallas did not look good against Chicago, so I just don't trust Dallas. I think their run is slowly coming to an end here after a good start. I will take the Packers to win big and get back on track. And finally, we have two Monday Night Football games. The New York Jets at the Miami Dolphins. I mean, it's in Miami. I really want the Dolphins to win. I think they need a win here, but I'm going to take the Jets. I like their defense, and I think that they have more electric playmakers on offense right now. I just don't trust Tua at this point, and so I'm going with the Jets to win. And then finally, our last game, Cincinnati Bengals at the Denver Broncos. Obviously, Joe Burrow out for presumably the entire year. Denver Broncos are at home. They have not looked good this year. This is going to be a big opportunity for them to make a statement, get back on track, and I will take the Denver Broncos to beat the Cincinnati Bengals on Monday Night Football. So just to recap before I get out of here, I'm going Vikings over Steelers, Commanders over Falcons, Chargers over Giants, a lot of road teams, Titans over Texans, Eagles over Bucks, Patriots over Panthers, Bills over Saints, Lions over Browns, Niners over Jaguars, Colts over Rams, Raiders over Bears, Ravens over Chiefs, Packers over the Cowboys, Jets over the Dolphins, and Broncos over the Bengals. And those are my Week 4 NFL predictions. Let's see how I do. Will I do better than I did last week? Only time will tell. Thank you guys so much for listening, and let's enjoy Week 1.